Welcome back to Breakdown, Monday, October 28th, 2024. JJ,
Dad.
I love college football.
College football is just getting away.
I love SEC, Big Ten college football.
Well, they're the conferences that are thriving, so luckily for you, I think they're both gonna be around for a while.
Can you and I converse on those two conferences, their football games last week and the ones coming up this week?
You know what? I think we can do a little bit of a preview and a review. I think I am prepared for that.
Let's go to the SEC. I want to talk LSU at Texas A&M. Kind of a big game. What did we learn from that game?
We learned that Texas A&M paying all that money to make Jimbo go away might have been the best decision they've made. And paying Jimbo all that money might have been the worst decision. But, Mike Elko is the only coach that's undefeated in conference in the SEC.
That's right. They're in first place in the SEC, undefeated.
They're in first place. I remember on this here program last week, I said LSU. I picked them to run away a little bit from it. I said they had the best quarterback in the conference, and that looked true through three quarters. But Connor Weigman, he just he kept on getting pressured, and they had to put a little bit more mobile quarterback in. And once they did, man, Texas A&M just skyrocketed away.
When Texas A&M took Weigman out and put in Reed, Reed, he was in for 5 possessions.
Yeah.
No, well, 6 if you count the kneel down. But in the 5 possessions, how many times did he score?
Well, he scored at least 2 touchdowns by himself. He had 2 8-yard runs.
He led the team to 5 scores.
Yeah.
5 scores, 5 possessions. SMU. LSU was ahead, 10 to
17
to 7 at halftime.
It was 17-7 with 17 minutes left in the game.
And they seem to be dominating.
Yeah.
Really. But then.
Then they put Marcel Reed in.
I know, but LSU's offense went down too.
3 picks, Garrett Nussmeier. I said he was the best quarterback in the conference.
And I did too. He seemed to have problems, big time problems. And why is it that LSU couldn't find an adjustment to a scrambling quarterback?
Well, it's because they put him in when they did. If they put him in before halftime, they would have had all of halftime to make the adjustments. I'm sure they scouted him. They had those adjustments, but they put him in a situation where your opportunities to make adjustment all come at halftime. So anything that happens after halftime, you're really not prepared for it, and that was very much evident for LSU.
Okay, but just the week before, they had played a mobile quarterback in Arkansas
that they had prepared for.
I know, but you can't change things around that quickly. I mean,
well, halftime is very, very important.
I understand that.
And they were. I'm sure everything that they went in halftime was surrounding keeping up what they were doing against Connor Weigman. It was all 100% based around the starting quarterback who was not injured, but he just played so poorly that they had to make a change. And he was a 5-star, and I'm sure Elko is going to want to keep him around. But at the end of the day, he'll probably end up transferring. When he does end up transferring, I think this will be like the pivotal point that he'll look back on. But I think it's the right decision. I think they made the right decision at the right time.
Well, obviously they did.
Yeah.
This is the first time that Texas A&M has been the last undefeated team in conference play in the SEC since they joined the conference. So it's the very first time. Is Texas A&M the best team in the conference?
No.
Okay. Interesting. We'll move on. We'll get to that as the season progresses more. It'll weed itself out. JJ, tell me something about Kentucky real quick. They played Auburn.
They did play Auburn, and Kentucky. They had the second best coach in the history of the program after Bear Bryant. Mark Stoops has took them to multiple 10-win seasons. He's taken them to New Year's Day bowls, things that have never happened at Kentucky beforehand. However, at this moment in time, he is leading the ship of a team that has lost 7 consecutive SEC home games. They lost to Vanderbilt. They lost to I think they've lost to Mississippi State, not this year, but last year. They've just lost to the teams that if Kentucky wants to make a leap, they can't lose to. They beat Florida 4 or 5 times in a row. They got destroyed by Florida this year. They beat South Carolina 4 times in a row up until 2-3 years ago. they got destroyed by South Carolina at home this year.
Do you think Stoops wants to go to Florida State like some people in Kentucky are saying?
No, I don't think Florida State's going to want to hire Stoops.
I don't either.
I think Stoops more likely wants to retire. I think his brother retired at a very early age. Their father passed away coaching a high school football game. And I remember both of them. And Mike Stoops coming out and saying that they don't want to do that. They don't want to coach until they die. And, Bob Stoops retired before he was in his 50s, I believe.
Okay.
So
he left out on top, basically. He was still doing well when he left.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't like he was about to get fired.
He was in no way pressured out. They were, I think everybody was left shocked and scrambling at that moment in time. But Lincoln Riley was the right guy at the right time for Oklahoma until he wasn't.
Okay. What did you last week? Tell me about those amazing Arkansas Razorbacks when they hosted Mississippi State. How did that turn out?
That turned out to be a dominant win for Arkansas.
Agreed.
They went in as a 6.5-point favorite into Mississippi State, and they left winning by 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, it was 58-25.
Yeah, it was bad, and it was a pivotal win for Arkansas because it got them to 5-3, and there is a very clear path to bowl eligibility, which is very important for Arkansas's morale for their the practices additional practices that you get to utilize. But specifically, that one is very important for Sam Pittman. His contract stipulates if he goes under a certain win percentage. I can't remember what exactly it was. I think it's under 50% win percentage. His buyout drops from them having to pay 75% to 50%. I think it's like if depending on the win percentage, you have to pay 100%, 75%, and 50%. So he's kept himself above the 75% marker. So
okay.
I do think that he's more likely than not. I mean, he went in the season on the hot seat, and I think he's no longer on the hot seat currently. And I think that was a very big win because had he lost that game, he might have put him right back on it.
Speaking of big wins, Mizzou went to Alabama, and Alabama came away with a big win, shutout, 34-0.
Yeah, Missouri got embarrassed. They looked bad. They looked bad pretty much all season, save for they beat Vandy in overtime. They beat Boston College by 6, and Boston College looks pretty bad now.
Yeah, at the time they thought that was a pretty good win.
Yeah,
they got blown away by Texas A&M.
They did.
They did beat Auburn.
They did beat Auburn. Brady Cook didn't look like himself. He had to come out. They had to put Drew Pine in, the transfer from Notre Dame and Arizona State. It took Alabama a while to get going. The first quarter, first half, it was somewhat competitive, but yeah, Mizzou just looked terrible, and Alabama looked, adequate. They didn't look like the dominant selves, but I think that it'll it'll pacify the fan base for about a week or so.
Okay, for about a week or so. I think Alabama, they got a bye this coming week, but after that they play LSU, and LSU and Alabama both have a bye this week. So when they play each other, they both should be well prepared.
Yeah, and they both want this win. I'm sure of that.
JJ, one last SEC game from last week I want to talk about before we move on. Texas and Vandy.
Texas Vandy.
The
showdown that everybody knew.
Vandy was a 19-point underdog in that game.
They were a 19-point underdog.
Texas won.
They did win. By how many?
27-20. 24. Okay, yeah. 27-24.
Yep. 3-point win.
What you think about that game? What does that say about Texas, and what does it say about Vandy?
I think Diego Pavia is the truth. I think he's playing like the SEC first team quarterback currently, which I don't think anybody expected when you had Quinn Ewers, Jalen Milroe, Nico back, all these guys coming in. It's the transfer from New Mexico State that was playing the best. I think he had a late game interception, but he put that team on his back, and their comeback, they would have never had the opportunity to come back without him. And I think I can't believe Vanderbilt is likely to have a first team All SEC quarterback. I don't even know if Jay Cutler did that when he was at Vandy, but
I don't know either.
Yeah,
I think he may have though.
He may have, but if it wasn't him, I can't imagine who the last Vandy quarterback to be first team All SEC would have been.
What does that say about Texas, though, JJ?
It says that Texas's offensive line didn't look great. Vandy was able to get into the backfield. They were able to put pressure on Quinn Ewers. They scored 27 points on Vandy. Vandy's defense is legitimate.
Okay. Georgia kind of exposed Texas the previous week. Vandy's defense is legitimate. Their offense is legitimate as well.
They are. But they're still a team that lost to Georgia Southern this year. And they're hanging with Texas, sending Mizzou to overtime, beating Alabama. They're playing really, really well. They have 5 wins?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're likely to go bowling, which is that's crazy in and of itself. But
they're 5-3. The last game of the season for Vandy is Tennessee. When Tennessee looked at the schedule, and they always play Vandy the last game of the season, they always put that W at the end of the season. You think they're going to start changing their mind about that?
This season they might, and however long Diego Pavia is there, that might be true. But I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be sustainable. But Vandy better appreciate it while it lasts.
But JJ, let's go to the Big Ten.
Let's go north.
The big game.
The big game.
Well, to me, a big game. Some people say other game. I want to talk. Tell me about the Michigan State game. Michigan State was a 4-point underdog. I was dead wrong. You were dead right. As a matter of fact, I think Sherrone Moore probably watched our last podcast and heard you speak on what they should do, and they went out and did exactly that, and they won the game 24-17.
They did win the game. They got 1 turnover out of Aiden Childs. It was a fumble.
Yeah. 2 missed field goals by Michigan State.
2 missed field goals by Michigan State.
And 1 chip chop.
Michigan looked okay. Davis Warren threw for under 150 yards, but
they played the 2-quarterback system.
They did play the 2-quarterback system.
Pretty much recommended.
Yeah, and when Orgy's in there, it's a different math. You have to dedicate a linebacker to him, and if you don't, you're going to have issues. So that opens up lanes for Mullings, that opens up lanes for Edwards. And that's the type of team that Michigan's going to have to be. They're going to have to play multiple quarterbacks. They're going to have to ride the hot hand because they don't have 1 quarterback. So they're going to have to play 2.
JJ, talk to me about the end of game scrimmage incident.
Well, there's an incident that Michigan State's athletic director is asking the Big Ten to investigate because there was an incident. I can't remember number 8 for Michigan State and number 18 for Michigan. Colson Loveland for Michigan and number 8 for Michigan State got into a little bit of a petty after the whistle, whatever
End of the
nonsense.
game, as the game was ending, the quarterback was kneeling in the victory formation.
What I saw was Michigan State's player going for Colson Loveland's head, and Colson Loveland not liking that, so he putting his helmet in the Michigan State's player's head, and the Michigan State player taking offense to that, and then that just led to a whole series of events, what was caught on tape was Mullings and another Michigan player apparently punching or assaulting a Michigan State affiliated person on camera, on tape. And that's what Michigan State wants to have investigated. And that's what it looked like. I couldn't see great clarity. The Wi-Fi connection network wasn't great. But
we know what happened a few years ago in the tunnel incident where guys got arrested.
Yeah, so Michigan has had confrontations with Penn State at the tunnel and Ohio State at the tunnel before. But with Michigan State, I don't know what it is about them 2 teams, but things turn up a little bit, and there had been a more physical response.
Do you think the comment by Loveland was a non-issue?
What comment is this?
The after the game comment.
After the game?
Yeah.
And what comment was that for the people?
The multiple times referring to Michigan State as the little brother. Little brother gonna do what little brothers do.
Yeah.
That's what little brothers do. He definitely wanted to make it clear that he was calling them the little brother.
Yeah, and if I was Colson Loveland, I probably would have did the same thing. I'm sure he felt that number 8 was the instigator for the entire situation, and I'm sure he was in his feelings. I'm sure a lot of Michigan State players probably interviewed post right after that scruffle, especially the people at the epicenter, probably gonna be a little bit in their feelings. But
Moore, Michigan's coach, said basically that was not Michigan.
Yeah, he said it was unacceptable and that they're going to handle it internally.
Yeah.
But congrats to Sherrone Moore. This is the first time in 79 years that
First year.
a first-year Michigan head coach has won their first game against Michigan State. So good for him. First black coach in Michigan history, and he broke the almost 80-year curse.
AJ, let's go to Ohio State. They played Nebraska last week.
They squeaked by Nebraska. They sure did.
They were a prohibitive favorite in that game. 25.5 points.
Yep.
They won 21-17. What happened?
They could not run the ball at all. Quinton Judkins, Travion Henderson. They couldn't run the ball. They lost their left tackle for the year in their previous game, and, man, it looked like it. Their quarterback, Will Howard, looked like a Heisman Trophy candidate. He played really well. He was running and throwing, but no, they could not run the ball.
Okay, so they were not looking ahead to this week's game with Penn State, right?
Maybe they were. I don't know, but they almost lost the game. Nebraska had the ball with a chance to win it late in the game.
Nebraska was blown out previously by
Indiana.
Indiana just destroyed them. They only held them to one touchdown.
Yeah.
Is Ohio State the best team in the Big Ten?
I still think they're the most talented team in the Big Ten, but I think the best team in the Big Ten is still the Oregon Ducks, and I think Penn State has played better than Ohio State in the Big Ten. I think Indiana has played better than Ohio State in the Big Ten.
One last team I specifically want to focus on, and that's Indiana. Do you want to talk about Indiana's last week game or Indiana's upcoming game, or you want to talk about both of them?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk a little bit about last week's game. Indiana went to...
No, Washington came
to Indiana, and...
Indiana's 8-0 right now. They won the game 31-17.
They did win the game. It took a while for them to pull away, but they eventually did pull away from Washington. Washington had that was it a pick six or was it a fumble six? But I remember the transfer from Mississippi State, the quarterback.
It was
he turned it over and it led to a touchdown for Indiana, and that really got Indiana going. Travion Jackson threw a couple of touchdowns, but Indiana, kind of just pulled away late. But they ended up covering the spread. The spread started off at like 26.5 and it went down to 6.5. Once
I saw 5.5.
Yeah, it went down. Close. It went down a lot. And they ended up covering that pretty.
Indiana
easily.
Was playing without their starting quarterback. Well, their previous starting quarterback. So maybe that's why the spread went down.
Yeah, I mean he's 25 years. He just turned 25. Curtis Work, transfer from Ohio, Canadian guy. He just turned 25, so he has a lot of experience, and they're going up. They're trotting out a redshirt freshman, I believe, or is he redshirt sophomore? But of pretty green.
I think I'm not sure. I was gonna say redshirt freshman, but I'm not 100% sure.
Well, a guy with a lot less experience.
Exactly.
But he's weathered the storm and he looked pretty decent.
He did. JJ, how many teams in the United States, in any level of football, do you think that they can say after 8 games that they have not trailed for 1 second this year?
Well, Indiana.
Yes, Indiana is one. I'm sure there's other, maybe high schools, some of these small colleges or whomever. But how impressive is that for you?
I mean, Kurt Signetti, he said, Google him. He wins. That's what he does. That is pretty impressive. I mean, this is Indiana. This is, the last time they won 9 games was like when the Civil Rights Act was passed. Like, that was a very long time ago.
1967.
Yeah, 1967. Martin Luther King Jr. was alive.
Okay.
Bobby Kennedy was alive. So that was a long, long time ago, and they could do something that they have not done. And they're a basketball school that's been down on their luck in basketball for a long time. So this would be a huge, huge deal for the athletic program, I think.
Do they have a statement win this year?
Ohio State will be.
Okay. JJ, their strength of schedule is 106. Their strength of record is 10. Which means although their strength of schedule is weak, you still got to play that schedule and you got to perform. So their performance have given them a strength of record of a top 10. So
I'm honestly surprised it's only 10 with them having never been trailing in the entirety of the
I think
season.
a lot of it would have to do with their competition, though.
It does, but the best indicator for a great team is to dominate your opponent. It's not winning close against really high competition. It's about dominating whoever you play in front of you, and Indiana has done that.
Well, they're number 13 in the country right now, and there's a couple of other.
And they're number 13 in the country per the AP poll, but when they do release the college playoff rankings, they're going to be in the top 10.
Okay,
they will be. Like,
they might.
They will be.
Those. You mentioned those rankings. The first time they ever released a ranking,
Mississippi State
was number 1.
Yeah.
They didn't even make the playoff that year.
Nah, but they had Dak Prescott and Dan Mullen.
So rankings are what they are. But JJ, Indiana, they got a lot to be proud of. That's for sure. Let's just move on to this week's game.
Okay.
Indiana is coming to Michigan State. Michigan State had a terrible loss against Michigan last week. Indiana is a 7-point favorite. Can Michigan State stay in the game?
They can. They're gonna have to not turn the ball over, and they're gonna have to, run the ball effectively, which is gonna be tough. Indiana has a very stout defense. They're hard on every level to go up against. They have a pass rush. They have a secondary, and they have a linebacking unit that can play the run and the pass. So Michigan State's gonna have to play precise, and they're gonna have to play, one of their better games of the year. But after what they did to Iowa. Depending on if they can fluster Traven Jackson, if they can, confuse him a little bit, if they're gonna have to outplay him, the Michigan State's gonna have the better quarterback for them to win, or for them to be in the game. Honestly,
well, I probably think they do have the better quarterback. Indiana's quarterback is still very young, and so is Michigan State.
But Indiana's quarterback is going up against Michigan State's defense, and Michigan State's quarterback is going up against Indiana's defense.
Uh-huh.
So even if Michigan State has a better quarterback, he needs to outplay him relative to that. Was my thinking.
Okay. That's why they play the game. I have a feeling it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah.
I have a feeling it's going to be a really good game. We'll see. I don't know. JJ, let's go. There's two other big games in the Big Ten this coming week.
Okay.
Oregon going to the Big House. Guess who's the underdog at the Big House for about the third time this year?
Probably a team that has 3 losses this year.
5-3. Michigan is a 6-point underdog to Oregon. You like those numbers?
No, I would actually bet. I would put a lot of money on Oregon to want to make a statement here and win by more than a touchdown. I'm kind of surprised it's only at that moment.
So am I, and it probably could change. I think personnel-wise, Oregon is head and shoulders better than Michigan right now. I don't know. 6.5 points at the Big House. 6 points, at the Big House. Should be a good one.
Should be a good one. I mean, we'll see. Dylan Gabriel's going to have to work. He's going to be facing, 2 guys that are projected to go top 5 in the NFL draft, and Mason Graham at the defensive line, and corner Will Johnson. So we'll see. But defense can keep you in games, but I'm shocked that Oregon's not more.
Well, Michigan has been the underdog about 3 times. They've only lost 1 home game this year, and that was to Texas.
And they got blown out.
Yeah, they were underdog against USC. They beat USC. I think it was another underdog, so maybe not. Maybe it was a road game, but I'm looking forward to it. JJ, let's go to the big game in the Big Ten this weekend. The big game.
The big game.
Whoever wins this game will definitely have a statement win. And I'm talking about number 4, Ohio State, going to number 3, Penn State. Penn State is a 4-point underdog.
Yeah, home dog in Happy Valley, undefeated Penn State. Is that disrespect?
Well, Penn State's quarterback is a game-time decision.
Yeah, we don't know.
He got injured in the previous game.
Yeah.
And also, JJ, Ohio State has defeated Penn State the last 7 times they played each other.
Yeah, it's been a while since Penn State has beaten either Ohio State or Michigan. And yeah, 7 times is. I mean, there have been some close ones, but there have been a lot of blowouts too.
Okay, what do you like about Ohio State? I mean, they were in a close game with Nebraska last week.
Yeah.
What do you like about Ohio State?
I mean, I think they have the best receiver in the conference. I think they have a pretty good quarterback. He could run and throw. He's a dual threat. They're supposed to have the most dynamic backfield in the country with Quinshon Junkins and Travion Henderson, but honestly, I like them, but I thought this was going to be Ohio State's title to lose, kind of. And they won the offseason, the transfer portal,
Yes, they did.
All the money that they committed to all these players, Caleb Downs, all these guys, all these big name guys that they got. But I see a lot of flaws. I see a lot of holes. I see a lot of areas that Penn State could exploit. I see more opportunity for this game for Penn State than I've seen in a while.
Okay, if Ohio State lose, if they would have 2 wins, 2 losses, are they in trouble? Would they be in trouble?
I mean, they'd be in trouble, but they could still make it.
Their remaining game would be Northwestern, Indiana, and Michigan.
So, I mean, I think that they wouldn't be in trouble. I think, having 2 losses could put you at risk of getting left out of the playoff discussion with 12 teams, but I do think that they would win out. I think you're still, exposing yourself when you do lose two games. You have to, make sure that your resume looks better than Alabama. You have to really make sure that I think you're really putting yourself at danger, but I think that they'd still get in. I think they'd be likely to get in with 2 losses.
So what do you think about the 4-point spread? Giving them or taking them?
That's a good question. Without knowing if Drew Aller's going to play, it's really hard.
Penn State's quarterback. I agree with you. It really is hard. If
I'd stay away.
If he does not play,
yeah.
I think Ohio State runs away with it.
Yeah, if he does not play, I agree.
But if he does play, I think it's a toss-up.
It's tough.
Okay. JJ, let's go to the SEC really quickly. Let's do a couple games. Ole Miss goes to Fayetteville this year, this weekend.
6.5-point favorite.
Yeah, Arkansas has been able to put up points this year. Put up 58 against a really good Mississippi, well, not a really good record-wise, but a Mississippi State team that has been playing some close games against some good competition.
Yeah.
How do you see that game, Arkansas, Mississippi State?
Mississippi?
Ole Miss, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ole Miss can't really run the ball, and I've not been impressed at all by Jackson Dart this year.
He has been a downer for me as well. I thought he'd be way better.
Yeah, if I'm a Mississippi fan, I'd be scared, but it's hard for me to be objective as I am an Arkansas fan. But yeah, I think I see a lot of paths for Arkansas to beat Mississippi. We'll see.
Texas A&M at South Carolina. South Carolina is a 3.5-point underdog. Will Texas A&M, will they have a slip after the big win against LSU?
They absolutely could. South Carolina has the best defensive line in the conference. And
I'm beginning to agree with you. You've been saying that for a long time.
I don't know.
But I am beginning to agree with you.
Well, just keep watching and you'll keep agreeing. I think a great pass rush can disrupt game. It reminds me of the New York Giants, when they went 9-7 and then went on to win the Super Bowl. When you have a game-breaking pass rush, you're in every game. You really are in every game. So South Carolina could absolutely beat Texas A&M. They have the team that could do it. Lenore Snellers is going to have to not throw picks. He's going to have to do what Gus Nessmeyer was not able to do last week. And
it is a close game, only 3.5 points. If South Carolina pulls the upset, the SEC is going to be a free-for-all.
I think it is either way. But, yeah.
Okay. So the last game, the big cocktail party.
Yeah, Georgia's a 16.5-point favorite in Jacksonville.
Against Florida.
Yeah, Florida's, they're quietly, what are they, 5-3, 4-4?
I believe they're 4-4. Florida, they lost to Miami, they lost to Tennessee, and they lost to A&M. So they are
5-3.
5-3.
Yeah, I think Billy Napier's doing a better job than
4-3. They've had two. They've had 2 buys.
Oh, they've already had 2 buys. Okay. Yeah. Well, if they can get to 6 wins, I think Billy Napier might go a long way in keeping his job.
Oh man, I don't know about that.
Which I think is a better use of the money. Honestly, I think you have a better use I would distribute the money to NIL, get players in, and keep the coaches and staff, not to pay them out.
Well, let me just give you
If they get
Florida's remaining 5 games.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia.
That's a loss. 4-4.
Texas.
4-5.
LSU.
4-6.
Mississippi.
5-6.
And Florida State.
6-6. So they're gonna have to win their last 2 games.
Okay. All right. JJ, am I omitting anything? Forgetting something?
I think that's about it. I mean, going on for about a half hour. I think we've covered everything that needs to be covered.
WPS, Woo Pig Suey. JJ, your Bengals have been looking pretty bad, man.
Yeah, basketball. NBA is about to start up. Whatever. Who cares about the NFL? The Razorbacks are going to the bowl, probably.
We got to talk basketball because Arkansas played Kansas.
Yeah, they did. And the number 1 team in the country. Kids didn't have their 3 best players, but...
They didn't have their 2 best players.
3.
Well, that's debatable, but
Okay.
I know what you're saying. We out of here, JJ.
All right.
WPS, Woo Pig Suey. Bam.